absolute honor to introduce all the eminent speakers to all of you. First of all, of course, Dr. Kasture, who just addressed us, who is Scientist G or Advisor in MNRE. Next, I would like to call upon Miss Ankita Vidyarthi, who is Joint Director, BIS. Kindly come and take a seat. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Ankita Vidyarthi. Next, I would like to call upon Mr. Lav Kumar, who's Additional Director in Center of High Technology, MOPNG. Kindly come up on the stage. Next, we have Mr. Tanu Sharma, who is Senior Assistant Vice President in Invest India. Mr. Tanu Sharma, please. Next, we have Mr. Atul Kharate from Indian Oil Adani Ventures Limited. He's the Chief Operating Officer. Mr. Atul Kharate, please. कहते हैं वक्त का तकाजा है तूफान से जूझो, वक्त का तकाजा है तूफान से जूझो, कब तक चलोगे किनारे किनारे. So on this note, we are all pumped up to invite our president, Dr. A.R. Shukla, ex-seminary, having more than 45 years of rich experience in the bioenergy sector, who has been our guiding light, to kindly come up on the stage for the welcome address. Dr. Shukla, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks, Mansa. Thanks, the organizer, Gaurav, and the entire team. On behalf of Indian Biogas Association, I welcome all the guests who are there to interact with us this morning in the first session, led by Sangeeta ji, who just addressed us. MNRE and the bioenergy is something which everyone knows, but this sector, as you go deeper and deeper into it, we find that whatever we have been doing, much more needs to be done. That's the situation. What was occurring to me this morning that when I started looking at this sector exclusively in 2007 as a scientist GR advisor in MNRE. So people will say that biogas, all right, there is no rocket technology in it. Anybody and everybody can do it. And I remember that in MNRE, people will come with topi and bag on their shoulders, topi on their head, and they will say, I am doing biogas plant, and that was the stage of the technology, and it was being used generally for thermal applications. So what I thought that unless it competes with the competitive modern fuels, there is no place for it. And that is how 2007 onwards, 2008, I initiated the work for converting it to what we call it CBG today, or biomethane in purified form, taking out the major component, that is the carbon dioxide, some other gases out of it. So that is how we are today here. And I remember that for starting at that time, 3 EOIs from MNRE I launched, expression of interest. First was for having the biogas plants, CBG plants, having 1,000 cubic meter capacity. And the other one was for the medium and large size capacity. That is how the first plant was done in Maharashtra, the bigger one, last day of my retirement in 2011. So that plant was done, so large plant has come. Now, for that, the situation is that these two things have been done. The third EOI, which I brought out at that point of time, I said that let there be a biogas plant which can be installed in our drawing rooms. It should be so aesthetically beautiful, so neat and clean. No fumes and foul smells are there. Such a plant, and for that EOI was issued, and a couple of companies and organizations they said yes, they will make it. Some efforts were made, and Pratibha Patil ji was President of India at that point of time. In President House, we have demonstrated one such plant. Later on, things were left out. Now today, uh, when I post retirement went to my house, own house, so one RO plant was installed for having the clean water for drinking. Now today, what occurred to me this morning that now from simple technology that anybody and everybody can do it, now we have to bring rocket technology and space technology into it. After all, if you are going to have bastis in other planets, then waste, if humans are there, waste is going to be generated. Then what will be the technology for converting that bio waste to the usable forms? If we can convert it, develop a rocket technology where the biomass is converted to biohydrogen, then hydrogen is a fuel for the space. And why can't it be done? And if that needs to be done, then we need in the today's parley that the startups. I want a startup who can be registered with the space technology for providing solutions for that and also making it possible in today's parley as RO plant, as a bio waste disposer in every house, so that it converts into all the waste generated. You switch on the button like RO plant, it converts it waste in allowable time to usable forms, and no fumes, no smells are there. So that EOI, which I brought out at that point of time, it is still relevant. And I call upon all the participants here and Gaurav and Mansa to bring out EOI again from the IBA that we want to have startups in this sector to bring a plant which can be relevant to space applications, space habitats and settlements, and also for today is just like our every domestic households in urban areas and rural areas where the purified clean water is required for individual families. So with this expectation from all of you, I welcome again to all the speakers here and all the participants in this hall to make it a success, Bio One to become really Bio One in entire renewable energy, what Khattar Sahab has said a little before. So thank you very much, and I welcome you all again to start the session from this note. Please go ahead.
Into 8 to 10 minutes. Although all of us, we would love to hear from you whole day, but just due to time constraint, that's a humble request we wanted to put forth. So now I would like to introduce to all of you Miss Angita Vidyarthi, who joined BIS in 2014. She worked in certificate branch offices in Lucknow, Bangalore, Ghaziabad, and Delhi till 2022. Then she worked in the policy research and training wing of BIS for another 2 years, and now has joined the mechanical engineering department of BIS. Currently, she is serving as a joint director or scientist at the Bureau of Indian Standards. Miss Ankita Vidyarthi, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome her.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'm Ankita Vidyarthi from Bureau of Indian Standards. And today I represent Bureau of Indian Standards at this Bioenergy Forum, at this Bioenergy Conference, and I feel very delighted and very thankful to be here. Because when we talk of renewable energy, we generally talk of solar sector. Bureau of Indian Standards, as I am currently working in mechanical engineering department, we formulate standards on various products and also on various services. So when we come to renewable energy sector, bioenergy is a kind of sector that is, not Bioenergy is something not very new to India, but this sector is not very much represented while standards formulation activity is done in India. So before going to the bioenergy standards that are covered in Bureau of Indian Standards, I would just like to give some introduction about BIS. So Bureau of Indian Standards is the national standards body of India. I hope you must have heard of ISI mark, right? ISI mark, hallmark, and registration mark at the back of all your electronic devices, there is this registration mark. It is provided by Bureau of Indian Standards. So what are the standards? Standards are the basic minimum requirements that a product or service must fulfill to, have it uh, to be seen as a standardized, as a benchmark product or service that can be replicated by all the manufacturers and that can be trusted upon by the users. So Bureau of Indian Standards is that body that actually authorizes the manufacturers to use this ISI mark or registration or hallmark on their products. Bureau of Indian Standards also, it came into development in before independence. In 1946, it's a brainchild of Institution of Engineers. Then Government of India resolution on 3rd September 1946 led to the establishment of ISI, Indian Standards Institution, which later came to known as Bureau of Indian Standards. So ISI first started functioning in Sri Ram Institute of Industrial Research, and it was inaugurated by our first Prime Minister, Shri Jawaharlal Nehru. So Bureau of Indian Standard Act 1986 gave statutory status to BIS on 1st April 1987, and then BIS Act 2016, enforced on 12th October, makes BIS a national standards body of India. Because standards, as you know, have been formulated in the field of railways, defense, electronics. There are other ministries that are handling those standards, but when it comes to the national standardization body of India, BIS is the one that is taking the lead on that. So BIS locations, as you can see, we have 5 regional offices and 38 branch offices throughout India with 8 laboratories of our own. And also we have this training institute at Noida Sector 62. It is National Institute of Training for Standardization. Now coming to the core activities of BIS. Standards formulation, as I told, is one of the most important activity of BIS, where we formulate standards based on, on so many products: packaged drinking water, stoves, biogas, renewable energy sectors, and all the electrical equipments, these phones, registration devices that you have, phones, laptops, and chemical products. Then comes product certification, because once the standard is formulated, how the standard is going to benefit the consumers. We provide the manufacturers with ISI mark. We go to their units, we go to their plants, and then we carry out inspection. We see that their product is actually certified, which it is actually up to the mark, and can it be used by the by the consumers without any issue. So we go to their factories, we carry out the inspection, we carry out the testing. This is the product certification activity of BIS. And then we also issue the management system certifications, hallmarking, compulsory registration, that is on your electronic devices, laboratory services, because certification activity without laboratory is incomplete. And then we have consumer affairs and standard promotion activities with BIS. And you must have heard of Jago Grahak Jago, right? That is a tagline of BIS. And training activities. Standards formulation, we have 16 divisional councils with us, and presently we have 22,000 Indian standards on various products. This is a very changing number, because every day we are formulating some new standards, and this number keeps on changing. We are trying to include as many products as possible in this standardization activity. Then BIS encourages a culture of quality products and services in line with national priorities to mandatory or voluntary compliance. Some of the products that you must have heard of recently, toys, shoes, they have come under mandatory certification. If you go out in the market without ISI mark, you would not get these products. And if you're getting these products without ISI mark, you can always come and complain to BIS, and then BIS would look into that issue. And if any quality concern you're facing, then BIS is the one authority that is going to help you out in that. Then these are the best international level practices that are followed in standards development. BIS is not only follows the Indian standards, we are not only the Indian standards body that is making stringent standards for the products, for quality products in India, but we are also linked with ISO. We are a part of many of the committees in ISO that are making the standards at international level. We have adopted a lot of ISO standards so that the standardization sector, or the products, they are of the same quality that we get, that we go to Europe and we see the services and products there and we are like, these products are very good. So we are trying to make the standards that are at the same level, at the same par with the international standardization activities as well. So these are various sectors under which the standardization activity of BIS is covered. And when it comes to mechanical engineering and chemical engineering, as we'll come in forward, we'll see the biogas is covered under these sectors. Apart from that, we have transportation, textile, production, general engineering, petroleum and coal-related products, even mechanical equipment and hospital planning. This standards are covered under BIS. As I told, BIS is a standard international organization of standardization. Was also BIS is a co-founder. BIS was a founding member of this ISO, and we are a member in a lot of ISO committees. We are the participating member and observer member in a lot of ISO committees. So these are a little bit of our international activities. As we do not have a lot of time, so I will not go in detail. But just as that we are doing a lot of work in the international standardization activities as well. Now coming to the main point for today, what are the biogas standards that are covered under BIS? So currently, we have only 5 standards related to biogas that are covered with BIS. That is standards related to biogas and biomethane specification. Then biogas plants, this is glass fiber reinforced polyester resin gas holders specification and with steel frame. Then we have the standard IS 13152 for portable solid biomass cookstove. IS 9478 is for design, construction, installation, and operation of biogas, and it is a code of practice standard. It is not a product standard. Code of practice is the minimum requirement, that a biogas plant has to fulfill for to be covered under this IS. It gives the design, construction, installation, and all the operation features that are the minimum required for a biogas plant. Then there is IS 8749, which is the biogas stove specification. So as I told earlier, this biogas sector needs to be represented a lot in the standardization activity of BIS, as well as, because as ma'am told, many of the CBG plants have been given subsidies and many plants have been installed. So there is a need of the hour that the standardization in biogas sectors, the manufacturers who are installing, the producers of biogas that are actually, encouraged to install these plants and encouraged to take this initiative forward, they should come and collaborate with BIS and get their products, get their services recognized, formulate a standard, be a part of the team that is making this standardization activity possible, so that we can have, a uniform practice throughout the country. Some of the manufacturers are making a very good quality products, and obviously there would be manufacturers that are going to make, least possible quality that could pass on. So there has to be a standardized set of values, standardized set of principles, and testing requirements and quality concerns, materials, testing that has to be taken care of. So when standards in BIS is made, all those division councils in chemical, mechanical, or whatever, 16 division councils we have. So standardization is not a single person activity. Me being a scientist in BIS, I'm not the one solely responsible for creating a standard. We gather a group of experts. And these group of experts are manufacturers, people from research, academia, industry associations who come up together, and then they sit and they formulate, they make the basic draft standard, and then it is circulated to the public for view and for their comments. And when those comments are gathered, then we collaborate those comments, we find out what are the points we are missing and what are the additional things that have to be added. And then it goes on to formulate the Indian standard. So when I stand on the stage here, I urge all our prominent stakeholders who would love to be the part of the standardization, because we have to explore this sector a lot. We have to explore the sector a lot yet. So in the next slides, I've covered these standards, what are the scope of the standards and salient features of the standards. But if you want to actually go and read these standards, you can go on BIS website, you can log in, you can make your credentials there, and then you can download these standards for free. If anyhow you have any interest in reading these standards, you can get them on the BIS website. So main features that we have covered are design and construction features in most of the biogas and bioplant standards, but we still have to make the the biogas plants, like we have right now only glass fiber reinforced polyester resin holders. There are many other type of holders that are associated with biogas, but we do not have only this one standard. So the if manufacturers are sitting out there whose products have other features or they have other specification for this, they can let BIS know and then we can work on that. Then this standard is for portable solid biomass cook stove. It contains the features of designs of chulha, performance parameters of thermal efficiency, emissions, temperature tests. These are the basic minimum requirements that are covered in the standards. Same goes for biogas stove as well. Now coming to the future of biogas latest standards in India. So the future of standardization in the biogas sector is promising and is driven by several factors, that is government initiatives and technological advancements. As ma'am said in MNRE, there are many government initiatives that have been taken in this field to promote the biogas activities and bioenergy activities in the sector. So this is how this sector is going to move forward and move ahead. Then we have the quality control, capacity building, and market expansion. These are also the activities and these are the factors that are going to drive this sector ahead. International collaboration. As I told earlier, this ISO committees, we are a part of ISO committee that makes a standard on biogas. So there is this ISO TC 285. It's a technical committee for clean cook stoves and clean cooking solution with which BIS is collaborating. And currently, MED4 is the technical committee working for formulation of Indian standards under renewable energy sources. So renewable energy sources, we have both solar and biogas as well. So working panel has been, as I told earlier, standardization activity. We gather a group of experts from various fields. So working panel has been made under this technical committee MED4 that has been formulated along with experts in the field of bioenergy for exploring new and gap areas of standardization under biogas, biohydrogen, bioethane, and bio-CNG. So with this, I again urge all the stakeholders that are interested to be a part of the BIS standardization activity to get in touch with BIS and give their inputs and have their products, have their systems regularized and have their systems standardized. And you can be a pioneer in making a standards in your field, because this sector needs to be explored more. It has a very good future and we need to work together to come up with some good solutions how to take it ahead. So with this, I thank you all for your time. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sankita, for that enlightening talk. Moving forward, our next speaker is Mr. Love Kumar, who's Additional Director at the Center for High Technology MOPNG. Mr. Kumar has extensive experience in the petrochemical industry, now leading biofuel initiatives of MOPNG focusing on second-generation ethanol and compressed biogas, marking significant achievements in biofuel initiatives. His work promotes government biofuel schemes, driving innovation and research to support India's energy transition and sustainability goals. We are so eager to hear from you.
Thank you. Thank you for a wonderful introduction. First of all, I want to thank the IBA and Mr. Kiria for organizing such a wonderful program, especially focused on the CBG. And wonderful, encouraging talk is given by Sangeeta Kasturi ma'am in the morning. And it is really encouraging to know that the MNRE and also the MOPNG is working so much for the CBG sector to navigate encourage the participation. So like my talk is on the navigating the future, and I just want to what are my views related to the future of the CBG sector. So 2 days before, I was having a run in the Noida, and I found out that the temperature is usually higher compared to the normal October weather. So like in the this was invested, this was thought out in very earlier also, that the temperature of the earth is rising, and that's why, like, earlier we had a Kyoto protocol, now we are having a Paris agreement, now we are planning to make a new agreement, and to achieve the target of 1.5 degrees Celsius. But if we are not able to achieve, we are going to be the Mars, next Mars of it. And this is happening in the recent time. 2024 is going to be the hottest year of the global temperature is recorded. And as per the economic survey 2024 published this year, the erratic monsoon, climate change, and crop disease are doubling the food inflation. So we are not like restricted from the any effect of the climate change. We need to do right now, take actions to save the world earth for our future generation. And this is not possible only through the net zero only. As per the some estimate Oxford University of Oxford report, we need to remove around 7 to 9 million tons of billion tons of the CO2 from the atmosphere for keeping the temperature of 1.5 degrees Celsius. And if you look at the CO2 emission, the MSW is the third largest source of human caused methane emission, accounting for around 11% of the global emissions. And crop residue burning is also significant contributor of the GHG emission. And this brings the CBG sector into the picture. Because if you look at the feedstock of the CBG sector, these are animal waste, MSW, industrial organic waste, food and vegetable waste, energy crop, agri residue. These all are waste, and the developing waste to energy can help us to get the sustainable source of the energy, as well as keep the methane emission from the environment, because methane is 28 times more GHG potential compared to the CO2. So if we are restricting methane going into the atmosphere, we are also contributing for the greenhouse, controlling the climate and ambient. And that's why we should not look at the CBG industry as a sustainable source of energy only. We should consider CBG sector as a sustainable waste management system also. Regarding the production, there are so many technologies are available, and India is the third largest the global emitter in terms of the emission, but our per capita emission is very less compared to the global average. And we are growing economy, our GDP is growing at the 5% average rate, and we need much more energy. So CBG sector can also contribute for that also. So the one of the interesting thing about the CBG is CBG is contributing for the 15 sustainable development goals set by the United Nations, and it can help us to achieve the 10% reduction in the worldwide greenhouse gas emission by 2030. So that's why the policy support come into the picture. Because of the advantage of the CBG, many policies are coming into the for to support the CBG sector. In the morning, Sangeeta Kasturi ma'am explained the MNRE bioenergy program. There are some policies related to the mostly related to the MOPNG, which is the Satat scheme, CBG CGD synchro scheme. Then the BAM scheme is recently launched. DPI scheme is also recently launched, and market development assistance is announced by the Ministry of Fertilizer. Then direct pipeline infrastructure, CBG obligation also came, and now the new pricing model is also coming for the CBG sector. But the interesting thing is there's so many public-private partnership is coming into the sector, and that is very encouraging. 195 PSUs plant also coming into the picture, and the carbon credit generation is also, we are looking at that thing, because the CBG is one of the area which is identified as a carbon credit generation under Article 6.2. So as I am talking about the future, so like what new are coming into the market to grow the CBG sector? The first one is the development of the CBG grid. The Ministry of Petroleum already announced the direct pipeline infrastructure scheme, which is promoting the CBG injection into the CGD network, which is the, if you look at the flow diagram, which is the last part. So we are supplying the CBG to the residential and CNG filling station as of now. But the already discussions are going on to injection of the CBG in the trunk pipeline. And this is going to bring a new landscape of the users of the CBG, because the trunk pipeline, it can be supplied to the industrial customers also. And the big power generation can also happen. So this is the one of the area. It is going to create the so many demand centers, obviously. We are now already talking about the bio LNG and liquefied biogas. That SSLNG concept is very new into like India. The first SSLNG skid was set up in the Gale Vijaypur plant, and this is going to support. This is like the decentralization of the whole LNG domain, because right now, if you look at the gas supplies ecosystem, the first the LNG is supplied to the ports, and then it is transported through the pipeline to the different part of the countries, and then it is again supplied to in the form of the CNG, PNG, and different sector. But if you look at this SSLNG is very important for the decarbonization of the trucking sector and marine sector, because the trucking sector, they transport for the long distance, so they need a large storage capacity of the energy, and SSLNG play a role in that area. But if we are able to liquefy the biogas, then it is again the bigger decentralization of the energy, because right now we are importing the most of the energy. Our 46% of the gas energy is imported from like mostly from the Gulf countries or USA. So we if we are able to develop this LBG, so centralization, decentralization of the energy can happen. I just tried to depict in the diagram. If you can look at that, after the biogas production, there is a LNG skid, and LNG skid will liquefy the biogas, and this biogas can be used in the marine and trucking sector. So MOPNG already gave the approval of first bio LNG facility in India. Very soon, maybe within a year, we will see some bio LNG facility coming into India, and let's see how it works. So it will generate another development into the area. It can start the growth. The new concept, this is very new concept which is now talk about, because the carbon capture technologies are now developing, and the bioenergy, the most of the bioenergy plant, if it is a ethanol plant or biogas plant, there is a good stream of the biogenic CO2, and this biogenic CO2 can be captured and converted into the synthetic fuels. So and this synthetic fuels can fulfill all norms. If you are looking at the European Union norms or USA norms, or within India, we are talking about the greenhouse gas intensity reduction. So this can give recently the carbon market guidelines also came into the picture in India. And if you are in a compliance consumer, so you need to reduce your carbon intensity also. So this can play a big role in that area. Although I know that this technology is still developing, many R&D is already going on this area, but this is going to be a big boost for the CBG sector, because the 40% CO2 we are emitting to the atmosphere right now in the production of the CBG plant. But if we are able to capture this CO2 and using the green hydrogen, if we are able to convert it into synthetic fuel, we can develop a different ecosystem. And also it is going to be a negative CO2 emission into the atmosphere, because like we are talking about direct air capture to remove the CO2 from the atmosphere to keep the climate under control. So if we are able to capture the CO2 through the biogenic process, it is a carbon negative emission into the atmosphere, and it is going to help us to climate control, and as well as the different uses of the different income generation for the CO2 CBG plants. There is another important point is the bulk industry demand center. As in the start we talk about the I talk about the use of the transport of the CBG through the trunk pipelines. So these trunk pipelines are fulfilling the major industrial consumer. If you look at the largest consumer of CNG in India as of now, it's a fertilizer sector. Then it's come to the CGD sector. then it's a power sector. So the most of the CNG is consumed by the bulk consumer in India. There is a petrochemical sector, refining sector. They are using the methane as a feedstock. So if some integration, bulk industry demand center can be created, it is going to be a big boost for the CBG sector. And refineries are using the natural gas for the hydrogen generation and as a fuel also. Most of the industries, especially in the Agra zones and even in the NCR, are using the natural gas for the heating purposes also. And the recent example for this bulk consumer is the Maruti plant in the Manesar. They set up a biogas plant in their industrial complex to get the biogas generation and use it for the heating purposes and cooking purposes. So the bulk industry demand center can create a big boost for the CBG sector. But if you look at the flow chart, the methane is used as a molecule, as a starting feedstock for the many of the chemical industries. The synthetic gas is used for the methanol generation, hydrogen generation, ammonia generation in the fertilizer sector, obviously, and the carbon disulfide, carbon black. So there are lots of opportunity into the CBG sector. So if we are able to generate the CBG volume at a large scale, this is one of the area we can work on. And the small to mid-scale industries and commercial customers like refineries and fertilizer may push to the demand. If we look at the green hydrogen definition of the MNRE, under the, it says that the biohydrogen can also qualify for the green hydrogen. So, and there are so many routes available for the splitting of the methane, SMR process of the methane to produce the green hydrogen, and that will qualify for the as per the definition. So key takeaways are the policy framework is already accelerating our CBG ecosystem in the country. There's so many good policies are coming and it is highly motivating for the CBG producers also. The valorization of product and biogenic CO2 is very important to more financial viability of the project. Technology development can create more revenue streams and the bulk consumers such as refining and fertilizer will bring more synergy into the sector. That's it. Thank you. And in this slide, I just want to say that more collaboration is required in the CBG industry, and we can take the CBG sector into like up to the moon if we are able to collaborate. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Love Kumar, for bringing a fresh and innovative perspective to the discussion. So now I'm pleased to introduce Mr. Tanu Sharma, Senior AVP at Invest India, with over 17 years of experience in the energy sector, specializing in research, consulting, business planning, and P&L management. He has expertise in both conventional and new energy sources, including energy transition, and has advised clients globally on the market entry strategy and transactional advisory, delivering impactful revenue and strategic solutions. Welcome.
Respected speakers and delegates, a very good afternoon to all of you. Thanks, IBA, for inviting me here today. Before I start my presentation, at least one thing is clear to all of us going forward, that CBG will now be talked in the same breath as the other branches of renewable energy. So we do not associate renewable energy with only sun, solar or wind. In fact, I believe we'll have probably next year or sometime soon a dedicated session for even CSP, concentrating solar power. So a lot of branches will be added into renewable energy, which will give new wings to how we treat and how we utilize renewable energy. I'll discuss an overview of the CBG landscape in India. A lot has been discussed, but I think it is important to understand what is the genesis of CBG. Why CBG now? Why we were not just content with only gobar gas plants? Because they were still giving us a lot of cooking options, stove, fuel. Please understand, it is the emergence of the natural gas sector that we are today talking about, the integration of CBG into the natural gas grid. So conversion of biogas to biomethane, that is what we call CBG, compressed biogas, and then using that biogas in the city gas distribution grids, because CNG and PNG domestic connections are all linked with the CGD connections. So if gas was not the emerging fuel in Indian economy, then probably CBG would have been left behind. And natural gas, because it is still offering us a lot of hope from the present basket concentration of 6.7% in the primary energy, natural gas will go up to 15% by 2030. So that means the natural gas consumption itself will go up, and that is where the mandatory blending of CBG into CGD comes into picture. And since we still import close to 50% of natural gas consumption that we have in India in the form of LNG, that is the only way we import natural gas in India. So some part of CBG will help us avoid LNG imports and also save a lot of foreign exchange as well. But what is also important is that we are able to utilize a lot of agriculture residue, lot of municipal solid waste by taking out the energy content of that, and still, we are able to clean our cities and villages. So this parali issue can be sorted out to a large extent once we start using this agriculture feedstock as well. Now the good part is that the CBG offers us multiple feedstock options and offers us multiple utility options in terms of steam, in terms of heat, power, as well as compressed biogas. And with the right kind of incentives being flowing in from the government, from the state level support, this sector can really blossom in the future. A schematic shows the multitude option of the feedstock, and as we lead to the production of compressed biogas, this can be also utilized for CHP options, biogas, and we use the phenomena of anaerobic digester, which then converts this into biogas. The feedstock options are multiple. We have discussed napier grass, we discussed cow dung, which are the gobar gas thing which we have been hearing of late, but also agriculture residue, press mud, bagasse. But every particular feedstock will have different calorific value, therefore the yield will be different with the different fuels, different feedstock options. Now biogas is a simple product from the anaerobic digestion, but to make it compatible with the CGD grid, we have to get the enrichment of the methane content, which normally is 50 to 60% in the biogas. So once that enrichment has to be done, the other compounds, which are carbon dioxide mainly, and also sulfur content, water vapor, these have to be taken out. So then what we get is a minimum 90% CH4 content, which has been enriched from 50% to 60% from biogas. So CBG will have more than 90%. These are the standards laid out, and this will decrease the content of CO2, dissolved oxygen, and other impurities. This makes it blending worthy in the CGD grid. Now these are the blending mandates. People have been talking about 1%, 3%, 4%, 5%, which will be implemented, but it is important to understand what is this voluntary blending. Voluntary basically means all the companies which decide to come forward and set up the CBG plants, they are allowed to do their trial and error, look at the operational difficulties, understand the supply chain vulnerabilities, understand what tie-ups are required, understand what feedstocks are required, understand what technology combinations are required, understand what is to be done with the methane flaring, understand what is to be done with the CO2. Therefore, they have been given a free hand to try their CBG plants at various locations. A lot of entrepreneurs are being pushed up so that when the mandatory time comes, they are ready for it. So voluntary time frame, which is this current financial year, is an important financial year to test, try, which is hit and trial. Some will succeed, some will fail, but there will be learnings from now. These learnings will be important when we push the mandates from next financial year. Now this map shows the status of CBG plants in India. Hardly 15% of total approved plants are in operation, but there is a lot of promise in terms of the total plants that we have, around 700 as on total, and this number will keep on increasing. Now this map will also show you the potential that we have is mostly in UP, in Maharashtra, and in Punjab. So some states which have very rich biomass potential as well. Now it is important to discuss some reference CBG plants which are running in India. Now Indian Oil has been able to commercialize the CBG under a brand name Indi Green. So they are selling it from their retail outlets, and they have multiple retail outlets from which they are selling Indi Green, which is basically the brand name they have given to the CBG that they are selling. Other option is that we have a CBG plant in Punjab, commissioned a couple of years back, which is touted as India's and even Asia's largest CBG plant, and it is taking paddy straw as a feedstock. In fact, our petroleum minister was there at the time of inauguration of this plant. So you can see I've given the actual plant pictures here. There are 8 digesters, and as the plant operates at its full capacity, so the potential is huge. So the paddy straw is taken from the rice fields nearby. This is Gale's recently commissioned facility, which was inaugurated by our Prime Minister just a couple of days back, which is 2nd of October, which is also marked as the Swachhta Divas. So this plant has been commissioned in Ranchi, which is taking municipal solid waste. So they have understanding with the local municipal corporation, and near the MSW site. So the plant has been installed, which is giving CBG output. Then this plant is a case study in itself, Ever Enviro plant in Indore, which they claim that now they are operating at full capacity and even beyond the full capacity. So this is something that is being celebrated, and the plant has also become a training ground for a lot many stakeholders. Ever Enviro's plant in Indore, Madhya Pradesh. This recently commissioned plant is from Gujarat Gas. They have commissioned their CBG plant in Punjab. And what is interesting is to see that they have also commissioned their first PNG connection. So that pictures are also available in the public domain. So they have supplied the CBG produced from the plant to their PNG customers. So we are getting the domestic, we are getting the CNG based CBG as well. So both the targets that we have of offtake of CBG in the form of CNG for vehicular transportation and for PNG for domestic customers, they are being achieved by different companies. Now, what does future holds for us in terms of CBG? Our eminent speaker had discussed this thing. Some extensions to it. We should understand the feedstock availability in terms of agriculture waste, MSW, sewage waste, and sugarcane and distillery waste. A study by CSE shows that these are the states listed out which have the highest feedstock availability of the listed ones. So we can expect the future CBG plants to come up in large numbers in these states basis these feedstocks. Now the thing is that once you shift the feedstock, you have to shift the technology, then naturally your state, the promising state will also shift. So given that India is a large country, we have variety of feedstock options from the agricultural waste. We have variety of states where we can set up. So CBG plants will come up in lot of states. It will not be just a few states that will take the advantage. Lot of states will be there because the feedstock options are different in different regions. Now, these are some investments. The list is not exclusive. This is just a small one slider which I have shown you. Potential investments coming up. These are the declarations given by these companies: Mahanagar Gas, Indraprastha Gas, Reliance Industries going big, Adani as well, Oil India, ONGC, Ever Enviro will be the developer for a lot many CBG plants. They have tie-up with IOCL, ONGC, even IGL. What is important here is to go back to the first slide when I said that gas is the enabler for CBG. Now you say all these companies that operate in the gas domain, natural gas domain, oil and gas domain basically. So all the companies which we normally try to have a hate feeling saying, okay, they are operating in the fossil fuel segment. These are the companies who have taken out all their money that they have earned so far to invest in CBG for the benefit of humanity. So these companies who have done a lot of good work in terms of providing us oil and natural gas, they are again taking that risk to set up so many CBG plants. This is probably an important message that we start ignoring when we think of only the renewable energy companies taking participation in the renewable energy domain. So we should welcome all the oil and gas companies in the CBG domain as well. This is something interesting. There are publicly available tenders. This is Uttarakhand tender. I've worked on a Himachal Pradesh tender, which says, yeah, the feedstock for CBG plant will be animal dung, horse dung. In the hilly stations also, we can have CBG plants, decentralized CBG plants, which can have horse dung, mule dung, even cow dung. Even chicken litter has been taken up as a feedstock for the CBG plants. So the options for feedstock are many. We can also see with the coming up time that small scale applications of CBG will be there in the form of LNG for local municipal buses or even direct CNG, but also the CNG bike which has been launched. So this bike will be a lot of promising option because once this CNG bike goes into villages and we have CBG plants in villages, the immediate offtake can be in the bikes in the form of fuel. I'll just take 1 minute to detail about our company Invest India. We provide lending support to companies interested in investing in India, both domestic companies as well as companies from abroad. So we provide policy-related support, ministerial-related support, central government, state level support. So wherever you get stuck in terms of commissioning or investments, we provide that support to a lot of investors and a lot of companies. So we are a globally awarded company. And in my division, I work in oil and gas. So we work a lot with Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas through their project development cell. That's all. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sharma, for your remarkable contribution in understanding the market dynamics when it comes to the bioenergy sector. So next we have Mr. Atul Kharate, an industry professional with extensive 2 decades plus expertise in oil and gas supply chain, new and green energy industries and initiatives. Mr. Atul has played a pivotal role in the strategic development of various projects, including LPG bottling units, import terminals, auto LPG stations across the country. Presently, as the business head or chief operating officer of the Indian Oil Adani Ventures Biogas units, he is handling multitude of departments and dynamics. Mr. Ratul Kharate, over to you. So we have a few pointers for you, Mr. Ratul, where we would need your inputs. So kindly guide us through those particular pointers.
Good afternoon, all of you. We started this discussion with an address by Sangeeta ji in terms of what's government policies and framework in place and what they intended. She has also, in a way, committed to us there with us in terms of growing this industry. Then we had a presentation from BIS with Arthi ma'am. She talked about what type of support as in standardization the department is having and plan in to provide us. And Lav Kumar talked about various types of technologies, what type of futuristic solution they have been thinking, and it's a good, insightful address by Mr. Sharma ji from the Invest India. It covers the whole supply chain of the CBG industry. What Gaurav ji has addressed me, since we have been in this domain from last say 4 or 5 years, the country's first plant at Namakkal was set up by the company which I represent, that is Indian Oil Adani Ventures Limited. It's a joint venture of Indian Oil Corporation and Adani Ports and SEZ. We have some experiences through the journey. So in the interest of time, I will try to cover only 2 points. One is basically our thought in terms of what type of business model we have in place for the growth of this industry and the sustainability of this industry. So currently we have one Satat scheme available. Satat scheme is basically oil marketing companies are coming and joining hands with you together for the marketing of product on certain non-binding agreements. And this is quite successful. That is how today we have a 19 numbers of plants up and running. Another close to 400 numbers of plant are in various stages of construction and mechanical activities. And we have an intention to grow this number at least 500 numbers of plant up and running in next couple of years. Although a Satat scheme has started with the 5,000 number of plants. Sooner or later, I'm sure these numbers doesn't matter at this stage, but we have a huge potential in terms of market. With the availability of 770 million metric ton of raw material of various types, we can easily generate 70 to 75 mmtp of gas, which can add value to the 6.8% of the gas contribution in the energy pie today. So potential wise, it's quite clear. In terms of energy demand of the country, we keep discussing. Even the fossil fuels like petroleum products are having incremental demand of 3 to 4%. LPG is growing at the rate of 4%. And the coal has very substantial incremental demand of 78% even after 2019 of the COVID. As an economy, we are one of the most stable in the globe. We will be growing at the rate of 6.8% and plus in the coming years. So what does it indicate? It clearly indicates that we need a larger energy in the coming days. So coming back to the CBG business modeling, I have my own professional views that any type of support from government in initial phase is fine. Okay. But if you have to really make it a commercial size, if you have to really see it from the business sustainability point of view, it's not intended that you have to avail that support for longer duration. Otherwise, it will be a scheme like which we have today, a fertilizer subsidiary scheme running in the country from last 25 years, 30 years. And today we have been struggling to stop that activity. So we as an industry also understand that aspect. So initial support under Satat is fine. We need to start thinking what is going to offer under Satat 2.0. So along with oil marketing companies, can private sector industry join in hand in terms of purchasing the product? And when I say private company joining in hands in purchasing this product, it has to be at some value added activities. It CBG can't be a 15 or 20% lower value product than your traditional fuel. So that mindset has to change. One is, I'm sure the ministry is working on the appropriate value of the CBG. The another part, if I am having in my glass manufacturing industry or a steel manufacturing industry, I need to also understand that CBG as a product is completely green. It is adding a lot of value to the whole scheme of things. So if I have to purchase it at 5% plus, I am having a willingness to purchase it. I may have another benefit in terms of carbon credit, in terms of my credentials, in terms of my sustainability journey to my customers. So that mindset has to be there. For that purpose, partnering with the industries, local industries. So that may be one of the business model. A cooperative model, CBG is highly interlinked with the agri economy of the country. So the way we have grown our sugar industry in the country, that is one of the most successful model in a globe. So I think the time has arrived that the cooperative lobby, cooperative bodies has to think that how can we have a cooperative model in the CBG plants as well. Suppose if I am having a couple of sugar plants in the state of Maharashtra, then I need to see as an one vertical, I will start CBG as a new business model. I will integrate with my sugar industry. I will have a farmer lobby from whom I am purchasing the raw material, the agri-based raw material, and whatever I am producing, I am supplying it to their tractors, their vehicles, my own sugar industry transportation arrangement, and couple of industry in and around my operating areas. Additionally, whatever the biomanure or FOM I am generating, that is going again back to the farmers at the appropriate costing. So that can be one of the cooperative model which I can say. There are a huge requirement of carbon in the industry in terms of the credits, in terms of rating. So industry is also having an option available today in terms of how can they tie up with this type of companies, and there is an value addition from this type of partnership. Integrated agro energy model, which we talked about, that raw material is coming from the group of farmers or societies, and they are also one of your customer, they are also your shareholder, and everybody is having a skin in the game. So that is how it will become a useful model. Community engagement and basically educating them in terms of what value they are going to get. So that can be another aspects of the activity. So these are all business model which I can see in the coming days, which we all have to practice it. The another important aspects of discussion is basically how can we basically engage farmers more in terms of this biomanure or FOM sales. So on this topic, if you just reflect back, the journey of chemical fertilizers in the country has started sometimes around 1905 or 1906. And under the green evolution in the country in 1960s, we are the only people, government of India through their various department, and each one of us have only promoted this chemical fertilizers. Around 1940s and 50s, sizable number of plant have came and then they started marketing it. 1960, there was a huge crisis of food for the country. There was a big question mark, how can we feed the 44 crore population of our country in 1960s or so? And that is how we have promoted this product. Now we have to resolve this problem at our own. So again, there are ways and means we have to convince to the farmers in terms of their effectiveness, their application and knowledge about it has to be improved, and we have to give a assurance to them in terms of the supply chain management of this product. We have to engage with the local agriculture communities, local social network, in terms of how can we basically add value to soil, how can we add value to the health of the people by doing this activity. It has to again run through a very specific campaign. Government of India is supportive in terms of providing marketing assistance for this activity. So again, it can happen with the engagement of local farming society. So in the interest of time, I will take a pause on these 2 points only. There are some other point given to me, but maybe we can catch up on those points during the break. And I once again thanks to IFG for really having all of us together, and thanks to MNRE, thanks to BIS department and my other industry colleague from Technology Center and Invest India for really sparing time and having this discussion for the industry. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Atul, for sharing your valuable insights with us. Wow, what an incredible and knowledge-filled session we have had. The insights shared today have truly set the tone for an engaging and impactful journey ahead. I'm now delighted to announce the official launch of the show directory. We extend our heartfelt thanks to our show directory sponsors, Galaxy Industrial Equipment Private Limited and Hydroprocov Pumps India Private Limited for the generous support in making this possible. We would also like to take this moment to thank our conference sponsor, Gruner Renewable Energy Private Limited, for their continuous support throughout this event. Next, we will be felicitating each of the distinguished speakers with a memento as a token of our appreciation for their invaluable contribution to today's discussion. I kindly request our esteemed speakers to be there on stage and to be accompanied by Dr. Shukla, our president. Sir, please come upon the stage. Sir, kindly do the honors and present the mementos. Please give them a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for being our rock-solid support. Thank you, Ms. Vidyarthi, for being with us today. Mr. Love Kumar, please. Mr. Tanush Sharma, please. Thank you for being with us today. Mr. Atul Kharate, please. Thank you so much for being a part of this wonderful conference. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a small feedback form which I think my team members have already they have already shared with you. So, kindly, just fill up the form and share with us. Now, I would like to invite everyone for a group photograph to just commemorate the moment. These are the moments that we cherish.